In this video essay, I will analyze the 2003 USA Quentin Tarantino film Kill Bill and the 2005 South Korea Chan Wook Park film Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. Through the lens of feminist film theory, I will identify how film can represent violence through vengeful and strong female protagonists. I will evaluate color, lighting, cinematography, mise-en-scène, and costume, and its relations to cultural contexts of feminism, societal, and cultural norms in which these films were shot. Feminist film theory is a lens through which we can criticize cinema based on its stereotypical representation of females. Both films are significant examples of how film could be engaged as an ideological tool that can counteract stereotypical images of women presented in a male-dominated media. Kill Bill centers around actress Uma Thurman as the bride. The film follows a narrative based on revenge, as the bride's mission is to take revenge on a team of assassins led by her former lover, Bill. Lady Vengeance is the third film in a Vengeance trilogy and centers around Gum Ja, played by actress Lee Young-ae. Similar to Kill Bill, Lady Vengeance follows a revenge narrative, as Gum Ja is released from a 13-year jail sentence for falsely confessing to murdering a child to keep her own kidnapped daughter alive. The film follows Gum Ja's quest to track down the real murderer, Mr. Baek. These are perfect films to analyze through the lens of feminist film theory, with several relations to roles of females, the male gaze, anti-stereotypes, as well as voyeurism, fetishism, and scopophilia. Both films follow a non-linear storyline, where both directors utilize flashbacks to show the protagonist's purpose and aim. In Lady Vengeance, the non-linear narrative not only helps deepen a level of empathy towards Gum Ja, as the blanks start getting filled and showcase that her conviction was wrongful, but also creates a plot in which the audience wants her to succeed. Tarantino similarly attracts the audience's emotions in Kill Bill, depicting the bride's massacred wedding and lost child, and seemingly incorporating a hit list as a visual cue in the film to indicate where she is on her journey. Both directors distinctively use pathos, allowing the audience to identify and acknowledge the moments that have shaped the protagonists while developing empathy towards them. Laura Mulvey stated in her essay Visual Pleasure in Narrative Cinema that the gender power asymmetry is constructed for the pleasure of the male viewer, deeply rooted in patriarchal ideologies and discourses. Given that males directed both films and they pursue a female protagonist in a time of heightened societal female objectification, they can be viewed through the male gaze at various times. Notice in Kill Bill, we are introduced to a J-cut of a black screen with the diegetic sound of the bride's panting. She is voiceless and diminished, and Bill's over-the-shoulder shot displays dominance as he patronizingly wipes the blood off her face. The framing, along with the bride being pinned to the ground by her injuries, puts her into the female stereotype of submissive to Bill's brutality.
It's your baby.
The audience is also introduced to a character named Buck and his client as perverse examples of the male gaze and fetishism. The men get sadistic pleasures from an attempt to rape a woman in a coma and justify their morbid sexual desires by glorifying her body.
Oh, goddamn, you were the best looking girl I've had today.
A vulgar example of male fetishism. Kill Bill also has several depictions of feet, confirming the widely recognized idea in the film industry of Tarantino's foot fetish. The male gaze in Lady Vengeance is depicted in a news report's glamorization of violence, where a reporter describes how shocking it is that the woman convicted of child murder is so young and beautiful. Gum Ja is announced through a scopophilic lens, where the reporter proceeds to voyeuristically comment on her dress, describing how it will be a popular style the coming fall. Gum Ja's atrocities are often overlooked in the film solely because people find her attractive and there is a disbelief that a woman is capable of the suggested crime. Both films likewise utilize extreme close-up shots showing just the protagonist's eyes, to emphasize their anger or thirst for revenge, which fetishizes specific parts of their bodies through scopophilia, where there is a pleasure taken while observing their frustrations. Further, Mulvey described how the paradox of phallocentrism depends on the image of the castrated woman to give meaning to its world, and that it is her lack that produces the phallus as a symbolic presence. This idea possibly reflects the bride's Hattori Hanzo sword and Gum Ja's gun, as their weapons represent bravery, but also masculinity, and protects them throughout the films. Within many films, female characters are often placed within three specific roles. Often seen in film noir, a femme fatale is typically defined as a mysterious and seductive woman who brings disaster to a man. The conventions of this role can be applied to both the bride and Gum Ja. The Korean and international title of Lady Vengeance offers a dichotomy, that of Lady Vengeance and kind Mrs. Gum Ja, and Gum Ja takes advantage of her kind appearance to plot her revenge while prisoned. However, after her prison release, she changes her appearance to elaborate outfits, giving birth to her ego, Lady Vengeance. The bride, on the other hand, is not only treated as a unique individual whose gender is irrelevant to how much violence she's capable of, but her motherhood is a big part of her identity throughout the film, similar to Gumja. Also, notice how both protagonists' costume designs reflect their roles as femme fatales, with clothing that resembles that of war uniforms and dominatrix, inflicting violence on those who provoke them. Their costume designs are modest and cover their bodies, yet the colors and style allow them to be the focal point and dominate the environment they're in. As femme fatales, the characters are conventionally attractive, stealing attention from the many male characters that do them wrong, representing progress in patriarchal cinema conventions. Both films also touch upon sexual assaults. Lady Vengeance neglects stereotypes regarding sexual assaults and sexual authority, noticeable in this scene where Oh Soo-hee is performing oral sex on the prison's so-called witch, yet the scene isn't constructed as anything pleasurable. The witch is depicted within the gaze in an extreme close-up shot with steam swirling around her face encompassing every expression and movement. However, the voiceover of Oh Soo-hee saying that she will cry afterward, interlaced with the diegetic moans of the female orgasm, ensures the audience that we're experiencing something that isn't pleasurable. Park including this could hint at the domestic abuse in Korean culture, where nearly 80% of Korean males surveyed had physically or mentally abused a girlfriend. Park has taken an image and anti-fetishized it, transforming it into someone's pleasure at the expense of someone else's misery, demonstrating that women can be dominating and aggressive concerning sexual authority. In Kill Bill, the bride asserts dominance and authority by taking power back from her attacker. The bride maintains dominance by stealing Buck's car keys attached to a keychain with a nameplate
Pussy wagon.
In patriarchy-dominated societies, pussy is a misogynistic word connecting the vulva with weakness. The idea of a man owning a bright yellow car that is labeled pussy wagon sexualizes and objectifies women while normalizing women's degradation in society. Claiming the car, however, symbolizes her defiance and taking back something that was hers unjustly taken away by society. Notice how the bride's dominance is marked by the distinct change in shooting style, where the camera now tracks her moves instead of dominating her. The personal struggles for revenge in Lady Vengeance are illustrative of the social struggles connected to South Korean culture. The film provides a criticism of the marginalized role of women in modern Korea, revolving around the place of women in the Confucian household. As a nation long influenced by Confucian ideology, it still manifests itself in Korean society through inequalities in gender. While women have battled for equal rights, common discourses have defined their roles as the good wife and wise mother. However, Park focuses on femininity and characterizes women's place in Korean culture. Through the acquisition of violence, Park depicts the cultural significance of family in South Korea, as seen with Gumja's emergence of family values with her violence and obsession with revenge. Notice this three-person dialogue between Gumja, her daughter, and Mr. Baek. Mr. Baek, the film's grand symbol of vengeance and hatred, positioned between the mother and daughter, and throughout the film he represents patriarchy and eroticism as the perpetrator of the mother and daughter separation. Gumja is dependent on Mr. Baek to translate her words, and the need for a patriarchal and cruel character reflects the violence in South Korean culture, violence largely defined by patriarchy. However, Mr. Baek's murder later in the film can be seen as a rebellion against such violence and a female who's taking control in a highly patriarchal society. Kill Bill is immersed in Japanese culture, as the bride travels to Okinawa and then Tokyo to prepare for and complete her revenge quest. There is an arguable collision of two different ideas of Western cultures in regard to the revenge theme, although they seem to work in tandem to better communicate the overall theme of the film. The nuance of these cultures colliding generates the effect of a quest. However, the film is full of popular cultural references. An example is the bride's tracksuit, resembling that of Bruce Lee's Game of Death. The bride not only belongs to Western civilization while in the East, but must also defeat her enemies with a variety of Eastern fighting techniques. Tarantino also presents the dangers of showing antipathy for ethnic outsiders when Oh-ren taunts the bride for the juxtaposition of her ethnicity and choice of weapon.
Silly Caucasian girl likes to play with samurai swords.
Yet Oh-ren falls to the bride's sword, and Tarantino proves that a Western female is capable of mastering martial arts. Western and Eastern cultures have different values and standards. In Korea, there is a significant focus on family and the Confucian household, and America is a country with more focus on attaining one's personal goals. The cultural ideas adhere to the realm of the two films. The two films offer an interesting perspective on feminist film theory, depicting strong female protagonists who go against female stereotypes in their respective cultures and a male-dominated cinema. Tarantino and Park both distinguish their films from other cliches of avenging female stories, although doing so in ways that often fall underneath the male gaze and other ideas found in the portrayal of the two protagonists.